For over 40 years, the upstairs of Graceland, the legendary home of Elvis Presley, remained off-limits to the public. No tours, no photos, no exceptions. For decades, fans and historians alike have speculated about what could lie behind those closed doors, imagining everything from hidden rooms and sealed letters to secret recordings and lost memories. But now, for the first time, Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughter, is breaking her silence, and what she reveals is nothing short of extraordinary. The second floor of Graceland has always been shrouded in mystery. It's a place that has been locked away, preserved as if it were a time capsule, holding secrets that no one outside the Presley family had access to. Even the most devoted Elvis fans, who have flocked to Graceland from all corners of the world, have never laid eyes on this part of the house. But now, with Riley at the helm of the estate and the heir to the Presley legacy, the time has come to finally peel back the layers and unveil what has been hidden for so long. The revelation is shocking. Hidden rooms, sealed letters, and emotional truths that were once considered too personal to share. But why has this area remained sealed off for so long? What has Riley discovered that changes everything we thought we knew about Elvis and his family? To understand the weight of these questions, we must first look at Graceland itself, a house that has become synonymous with Elvis Presley and the icon he became. Graceland wasn't always the grand mansion we know today. In fact, it began as a modest colonial-style home built in 1939 by Memphis businessman S. Youth. It was a peaceful retreat, far removed from the noise of the city, sitting quietly on a plot of land that was once surrounded by fields. A home with only 10 rooms, it was designed to be elegant but not ostentatious. White columns, arched windows, and a charming front porch. But in 1957, when Elvis Presley was only 22 years old, everything changed. He had just reached the peak of his early superstardom, and the pressures of fame were beginning to weigh heavily on him. In search of a sanctuary from the madness of his life in the spotlight, he purchased Graceland for just $12,500, a purchase motivated not by the size or grandeur of the estate, but by its privacy. It was a place where he could retreat from the chaos and find some peace. That peace, however, would not last long. As Elvis settled into Graceland, he began transforming the house to match his larger-than-life persona. What started as a modest retreat quickly became a physical extension of Elvis himself, loud, colorful, unpredictable, and deeply personal. One of the most iconic additions to the house was the Jungle Room, a room that has since become almost as famous as Elvis himself. The room, adorned with green shag carpeting on the floor and ceiling, was filled with carved wooden furniture and exotic decor, giving it the appearance of a rainforest-themed lounge rather than a living room in a southern estate. The Jungle Room also served as a recording studio where Elvis laid down some of his final tracks, including the album Moody Blue. It was an eccentric, intimate space, much like the man himself. But Graceland was more than just a recording studio. It was a place where Elvis could unwind, grieve, and create. Behind the house, he designed a tranquil meditation garden in 1964, which later became the final resting place for Elvis and his family. Today, visitors from all over the world visit the garden in silence, leaving flowers and tokens of remembrance. It is one of the few places at Graceland where fans can reflect on the man who changed music and pop culture forever. Since opening its doors to the public in 1982, Graceland has welcomed over 20 million visitors, making it the second most visited home in the United States, behind only the White House. Yet, despite the millions of fans who have walked through its rooms and hallways, there has always been one part of the house that has remained strictly off-limits: the upstairs. For over 4 decades, the second floor has remained a mystery, untouched and sealed as if frozen in time. No one outside the Presley family has ever been allowed to step foot in those rooms, And for years, fans and historians alike have speculated about the reasons why. Some believed it was a cover-up, a way to hide some dark secret about Elvis's death. Others wondered if there was evidence that contradicted the official story, or perhaps even something that would shatter the image of the king of rock and roll. But as Riley Keough reveals, the truth is far less scandalous, but no less poignant. For Riley, the upstairs is not just a collection of rooms. It's a personal connection to her grandfather, a man she never truly knew, but whose legacy has loomed large over her life. As the daughter of Lisa Marie Presley and the granddaughter of Elvis, her bond to Graceland is both historical and deeply emotional. The upstairs is where Elvis hid from the world, where he wrote, created, and ultimately, where he died. It is a space frozen in time, much like the man himself. Riley admits that as a child, she was curious about what lay behind those locked doors, but she now understands the sacredness of the space. To her family, the second floor is not just a part of Graceland. It is a shrine, a place where Elvis's memories and the most personal aspects of his life remain untouched. And yet, she reveals, it's not just a shrine to Elvis's life, it's a reflection of who he was as a person. What Riley found behind those doors was more than just memorabilia. It was raw emotion, fragments of a life that was both extraordinary and deeply human. The sealed letters, hidden compartments, and rooms that had been untouched for decades tell a story that the public had never heard, a story that Riley now feels compelled to share. The upstairs at Graceland was never meant to be a place of secrecy. It was a space for Elvis to live and love and create, free from the prying eyes of the world. But now, Riley is finally unlocking the doors and letting the world see what has been hidden for so long. And in doing so, she's not just offering access to a physical space. She's giving us a glimpse into the heart and soul of the king himself. Why has Riley chosen to reveal these secrets now? Perhaps it's a way of honoring her grandfather's legacy, of ensuring that the man behind the icon is remembered not just for his music, but for the complexities of his life and the private moments he spent within the walls of Graceland. It's a final gift to the fans who have followed his every move, and a way to bring closure to a story that has been waiting to be told for far too long. What lies behind the locked doors of Graceland's second floor may never fully be understood, but with Riley Keough's revelations, we are closer than ever to knowing the truth. And as we peer behind those doors, we are reminded that, like Elvis himself, the legacy of Graceland is far more than just what's visible. It's about the stories that remain hidden, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. The rooms, his belongings, the faint trace of his cologne. Elvis Presley's presence lingers at Graceland in a way that's impossible to ignore. It's not merely the physical artifacts left behind, the clothes, the records, the books by his bedside, but something deeper, something intangible. You can almost feel his essence in the walls. A part of him is still there. It's been like this since August 16th, 1977, the day Elvis passed away. That date marked more than the end of a legend. It also sealed off a portion of his private sanctuary forever. The second floor of Graceland, where Elvis lived and spent so much of his time, has been locked away since that fateful day, not out of any sense of fanfare or marketing, but as a direct order from the family. Vernon Presley, Elvis's father, made sure that this part of the house remained untouched, not as a publicity stunt, but as a memorial, a private shrine to a man whose life had been lived under the unrelenting glare of the public eye. The rooms upstairs were never cleaned out, never altered, and certainly never modernized. The clock above Elvis's bed remains frozen at the time it was when paramedics arrived. That time, that moment, will never change. Riley Presley, Elvis's granddaughter, remembers sneaking upstairs during childhood visits to Graceland. While the public roamed the lower floors, Riley and her cousins were often told not to touch anything but simply observe, to witness a life that had been paused. a world left in its original state. One room, in particular, stood out to her: Elvis's private study. A dark, intimate space, lined with wood panels and filled with books on a wide range of subjects, from numerology to Christian theology, even Eastern mysticism. Among the texts were notebooks with Elvis's musings on fame, spirituality, and the loneliness that plagued him, especially in his later years. Some of the entries read like prayers, others more erratic, filled with half-formed song lyrics, jotted down thoughts, and quotes that seemed to run on without direction. One page, Riley remembers, simply had the word "free" written over and over again, an echo of a man trying desperately to escape the weight of his own celebrity. Along with these reflections, Riley found more personal items. Elvis's bed, still dressed in its original silk sheets, was flanked by two nightstands, one with a Bible and annotations in Elvis's handwriting, the other with bottles of pain medication, some still full. Tucked beneath the bed was a shoebox, marked with the warning, "Do not open." Inside were letters, unsent. One was addressed to Lisa Marie, his only daughter. Another simply said, "To whoever finds this after I'm gone." These items, deeply personal and intimate, have remained sealed off from the public eye. Riley admits they've changed how she views her grandfather, offering a window into his mindset at the end of his life. Then there's the bathroom where Elvis passed away. Almost everything in that room remains exactly as it was that day. Riley won't go into too much detail out of respect, but she confirms that nothing has been altered, not even the towels. The bathroom, like the rest of the second floor, is treated with reverence. It is as though time has stood still there, and the room remains just as it was in the hours before his death. For the Presley family, it is not just the site of tragedy, it's a place where Elvis found solitude, where he could escape from the pressures of the world. He would spend hours reading, meditating, or simply sitting in silence. The bathroom, much like the rest of the upstairs, was a refuge, a sanctuary from the fame that had consumed him. Another area of the house that was never mentioned in official Graceland literature is what Riley refers to as the quiet room. This small, tucked-away space located at the end of the upstairs hallway was designed by Elvis himself as a meditation room. With soft lighting, floor cushions, and a low hum from an old sound machine, it was the perfect retreat where he could go to pray, reflect, or simply escape. It was a room so private that no photos of it exist. Fans were never allowed to know of its existence until Riley spoke about it. She believes it's one of the truest representations of who Elvis really was, a man constantly searching for peace in a world that couldn't stop watching him. For years, the upstairs at Graceland remained untouched, a silent tribute to a man who was constantly in the public eye. Riley explains that this decision wasn't just about preservation, it was about respect. Her mother, Lisa Marie, had a deeply protective relationship with that part of the house. It was too painful to revisit, too sacred, too unresolved. But after Lisa Marie's passing, Riley found herself stepping into a new role, not just as the owner of Graceland, but as the custodian of the Presley family legacy. She felt it was time to share some of the family's story, not for spectacle, but for understanding. Not to exploit, but to connect. Still, Riley is clear. The upstairs will remain closed to the public. Some things are meant to stay private, she says, but that doesn't mean they should stay a secret. And then, there's the enduring mystery. Is Elvis Presley still alive? This theory has been circulating for decades and remains one of the most persistent in pop culture. Could Elvis have faked his own death and escaped through a secret tunnel beneath Graceland? It sounds like something straight out of a thriller novel, but to this day, thousands of fans believe it's not only possible, it's the truth. What fuels this theory isn't just blind devotion or tabloid gossip. It's the strange details surrounding his death, his extreme desire for privacy, and even the layout of Graceland itself, which some claim includes a hidden underground passage built just for him to escape when needed. The tunnel rumor has persisted for years, with whispers from former Graceland employees and visitors alike claiming that there's a hidden passage that runs from the main house to the back of the property, or even beyond it. One popular theory suggests that the tunnel stretches beneath the meditation garden and leads to a discreet exit in the woods behind the estate. Some believe it was built either as a safeguard against the paparazzi or as an emergency escape route for Elvis, should he ever decide to disappear from the public eye. For those who buy into the theory, Elvis's growing paranoia in the 1970s, his increasing reclusiveness, his obsession with privacy, even his practice of sweeping for bugs, was the precursor to his escape plan. But where's the proof of this tunnel? Official Graceland blueprints make no mention of any hidden passage, and those that are available to the public omit any reference to the second floor altogether. Former staffers have outright denied the existence of the tunnel, while others have been more cryptic, saying things like, "There are things not even employees are shown." The Presley family has never publicly acknowledged any such tunnel. Yet, the theory persists. In 1987, a freelance journalist reportedly snuck onto the Graceland grounds and claimed to have found a concealed concrete entryway near the rear carport. His allegations were never verified, and no photographs surfaced, but the rumor stuck. And then came the sightings. One of the earliest major Elvis's alive moments came in 1978, just a year after his death. A man resembling Presley was supposedly seen boarding a plane at Memphis International Airport under the name John Burroughs. Interestingly, John Burroughs wasn't just any random name. It was the same alias Elvis had reportedly used in the past for secretive travel. The sightings have continued, fueling the enduring mystery. Is it possible that Elvis Presley really did escape? For fans and conspiracy theorists alike, the possibility remains open, just as the second floor of Graceland remains locked. Some mysteries are better left unsolved, but as long as the questions linger, the legend of Elvis Presley will continue to captivate, intrigue, and inspire. The rumors about secret heirs, but her actions and statements about her grandfather's legacy provide an intriguing insight. While she's not one to feed the fires of speculation, Riley recognizes that the mystery surrounding Elvis is a key part of what makes his life and legacy so enduring. As she steps into the role of caretaker for Graceland and the Presley estate, it's clear that Riley's focus is not just on protecting the property and assets, but on preserving the essence of Elvis's personal story, a story that is and will always be part of the mystery. While many of the supposed secret heirs continue to make headlines, the truth of the matter remains murky. Most of these claims are rooted in conspiracy theories, often tied to tabloids or fringe groups who have yet to produce any irrefutable evidence. The Presley family, for the most part, has remained silent on these matters, opting instead to focus on the legacy of Elvis as an artist, not as a potential patriarch with hidden children. Yet, the persistence of these rumors speaks to a deeper desire to understand the complexities of Elvis's life, and perhaps more pointedly, his relationships. Could there be other Presley heirs lurking in the shadows, waiting for their chance to claim a piece of the empire Elvis built? The legal intricacies surrounding the Presley estate are complex, with a web of trust agreements and legal clauses designed to protect the interests of the family. The most recent chapter of this drama unfolded when Priscilla Presley, Elvis's former wife and the mother of Lisa Marie, contested the changes made to Lisa Marie's trust prior to her death. The dispute, which was settled outside of court, underscored just how tightly held the control of Graceland and the Presley legacy truly is. This legal battle, as messy as it might seem, also brought to light the immense value of the Presley estate, not just in terms of money, but in terms of intellectual property, Elvis's image, and the emotional and cultural significance the estate holds. For all its riches, The Presley empire is not only a financial fortress, but a treasure trove of memories, art, and history, things that Riley Keough now finds herself at the helm of. Inheriting Graceland is about more than simply owning a piece of real estate. It is about maintaining the house that serves as the physical embodiment of Elvis's life. Riley has taken on this responsibility with a sense of reverence and respect for the past, but also with an understanding that the Presley story is still being written. As she steps into this role, there's no doubt that she will have to navigate the tricky waters of family legacy, legal battles, and the ever-present swirl of public curiosity. Despite the tensions and rumors, Riley has consistently shown that her goal isn't to unravel the mysteries of Elvis's life or respond to every rumor about secret heirs. Instead, it's to protect what he valued most, the authenticity of his legacy. That legacy, however, is one that has become so iconic, so entrenched in public consciousness, that it is nearly impossible for people to accept the idea that there is no more to uncover. Yet, as Riley moves forward, she seems content to leave some questions unanswered, perhaps because she knows better than anyone that some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. And while the theories and rumors surrounding Elvis's life and death continue to circulate, whether about hidden heirs, secret identities, or sightings of the king in unexpected places, Riley Keough's role as the steward of Graceland ensures that the true story, as much as it can be understood, is told with care, authenticity, and a deep respect for the man behind the myth. Whether there's a tunnel under Graceland, a hidden heir, or undiscovered recordings, the most important thing Riley has learned from her grandfather's legacy is that sometimes it's okay for some things to remain a mystery. The power of Elvis Presley's story lies not just in what we know, but in what we will never fully understand. At the end of the day, it's the combination of truth and myth that makes the king of rock and roll so enduring, his ability to remain larger than life even in death. Graceland will always be a place of pilgrimage, a site where fans from all over the world come to pay homage to the man who revolutionized music and pop culture. But as Riley Keough continues to preserve the legacy of her grandfather, she also safeguards something more precious than any material possession: the unspoken, often misunderstood complexity of Elvis Presley, the man who lived a life that no one could fully comprehend. And maybe, just maybe, never should. The mystery surrounding Elvis Presley's estate and his legacy continues to evolve, especially in the wake of Lisa Marie Presley's passing. Neither Riley Presley nor her mother, Lisa Marie, have spoken publicly about the potential existence of secret siblings, a silence that has only fueled speculation. Is it a legal maneuver to prevent false claims from gaining traction? Or is there something personal being kept under wraps? That remains one of the most intriguing unanswered questions. What is undeniably clear, however, is that Riley Keough, at just 34 years old, has inherited not just Graceland, but the enormous responsibility that comes with it. She's inherited not only the property, but an empire, one bound by contracts, property rights, licensing deals, and an intense public expectation that can feel overwhelming. Riley's role is far from passive. She is deeply involved in every aspect of the estate, from meeting with archivists and preservation experts to finalizing plans for new exhibits. She even oversees digital preservation projects that will ensure Elvis's legacy is safeguarded for generations to come. Elvis's handwritten lyrics, unreleased photographs, and original recordings are all being meticulously scanned and stored, complete with accurate metadata and the highest standards of archival integrity. But Riley's responsibility goes beyond the technicalities of managing the estate. She also controls the narrative around Elvis. As the steward of her grandfather's legacy, Riley finds herself in an extraordinarily delicate position, balancing the demands of the public with the need to preserve and humanize a man who remains one of the most iconic figures in American culture. Elvis Presley is more than just a musician. He is a symbol of a unique period in history, one filled with contradictions, fame and isolation, rebellion and conservatism, groundbreaking creativity and personal turmoil. To some, he is a godlike figure, larger than life. To others, he was a deeply complex man, full of flaws and struggles. Riley has taken it upon herself to ensure that Graceland is not treated like a static museum, but as a living, evolving space. It's a place where Elvis's memory is preserved, but not frozen in time. She has publicly stated that she wants the estate to be a space for learning, not just for tourists to gawk at. To that end, Riley has launched new educational initiatives with schools and universities, ensuring that Elvis's impact on music, culture, race, and innovation is studied in a meaningful way. She wants future generations to understand Elvis not just as a celebrity, but as a case study in fame and cultural identity. Behind the scenes, Riley is working hard to expand Graceland's digital footprint, not with gimmicky VR experiences, but with carefully curated content that preserves the authenticity of Elvis's story. The estate is working on digitizing countless personal documents, including song lyrics, handwritten notes, and letters. These will be made available for future exhibitions and academic research. Unlike other musicians whose archives are used primarily for profit, Riley has made it clear that she is more concerned with structuring Elvis's story with integrity than capitalizing on it. And while Riley is transparent about wanting to share the meaningful aspects of Elvis's life, there are certain parts of his story that will remain private. She has repeatedly refused to open the second floor of Graceland to tourists, guarding the sanctity of the space where Elvis spent his final years. She has denied requests to film in private family spaces and has turned down opportunities to monetize Elvis's legacy through reality TV or dramatized biographical productions. For Riley, it's not about exploiting the legend, it's about honoring the person behind it. This includes respecting the messier, more painful parts of his life that aren't suited for public consumption. If there is a secret heir, someone with a legitimate connection to the Presley bloodline, Riley will be the one to decide how that story unfolds. Not a judge, not a journalist, not an anonymous post on social media. Riley is the one who controls the narrative now. The story of Elvis Presley, in all its complexity, is in her hands. Elvis Presley's legacy raises intriguing questions about unreleased songs potentially hidden at Graceland. Speculation surrounds lost recordings, particularly from his last years when he continued to record privately, especially in the Jungle Room in 1976. Although RCA released some posthumous material, not all recordings might have been unveiled, as some remained unfinished due to his health issues. Numerous bootlegged tracks have emerged, but many were verified as impersonators. Unlike other artists, Elvis's personal archive is tightly controlled, with certain sealed rooms untouched, fueling ongoing speculation about undisclosed recordings and artifacts. Archivists at Graceland have revealed that some storage areas, particularly Elvis's bedroom and study, remain undigitized, with tapes, books, and documents awaiting proper archiving. An anonymous ex-employee shared on a fan forum that a reel-to-reel tape player was found in Elvis's upstairs study alongside a stack of unlabeled tapes. While unconfirmed, this aligns with his known private recording habits, as he often recorded casual sessions for personal review or sharing. His former producer, Felton Jarvis, noted that Elvis recorded much more than was released, leaving the existence of these hidden recordings at Graceland a tantalizing mystery for fans.